डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी.
Dear students, I, Dr. Shivang Patel, Associate Professor from School of Computer Science, Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, welcome you all from Chaitanya Studio of Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University. In the lecture series of Python programming, in previous session, we have already discussed how to install Python, how to configure environment variable, how to execute Python program, which are the various editors, or you can say that the different IDEs to create Python program that we have already discussed. Then we have discussed features of Python programming. Then after, which are the basic applications as well as advanced applications of Python that we have listed out. We have also discussed, we have also demonstrated one program, how to create Python program in different environment. Basically, we have discussed three ways which are very basic. First, that is you are creating a Python program with ideally that is inbuilt IDE available with the Python software. Whenever you are installing, this will be available. Second, you can use Python command prompt, that is Python command interpreter, that black screen or terminal in which you can create your Python program or you can execute various commands of Python. And the third alternative, you can use any of the IDE as well as you can use the system prompt to execute the Python program. So, all these things that we have discussed in the previous session. Now, in today's session, we are going to discuss basically basic syntax of Python program. So, you already aware in any programming languages, you must have to follow some specific structure of any program. The same way in Python, you have to follow the structure, how the program that will be created in the Python environment. So, these are the basic components that you have to include in your Python program. These are all not the mandatory, but whatever the components that you are going to include, at least these basic components that can be included in the Python program. So, first of all, that is the comment section. So, as you already aware, suppose you want to mention something to particular user for that particular Python program, in that case you can mention in the comment, just like the author name or that program definition is for which purpose, all these basic information or the help that you can write in the comment section. So, whenever you are compiling your program, that will be ignored by the compiler. So, it will print as it is, or you can say that for helping purpose you are adding that that particular comment. Second one is import statement. So, as you already aware in different programming languages, you are importing the libraries, you are including the libraries or some header files. Same way as we have discussed, Python is a rich set of libraries, or you can say that the rich set of various modules are available in the Python. Various inbuilt libraries or modules are available. Suppose you want to include in your program, in that case you have to use that import statement. That is not mandatory, but some of the functions or some of the advanced functionalities or features you want to include in your program, in that case you have to import this, right. Say for example, you want to include some array features, you want to include some numerical calculations, then you can import the libraries, right, and some packages in that case. Then after variables, so whenever you want to perform any operation on some values, that values that must be stored in some of the variables, right. So, that variable that you have to define in the Python program, that is the basic component whenever you are creating that Python program. We will see in detail how the variable that will be defined, how to use in the program. Then after the data types, multiple data types that can be supported in the Python environment, that we will see also in detail each and every data type, how they are used in that particular Python environment. Then after operators, multiple operators that can be supported as just like in other programming languages, conditional operator, arithmetic operation, relational operator, right, all these operators that we can see in the Python program. Then after control structures, as we already aware, you want to include that if statement or if else statement, that is decision making statements, or if you want to include some control structure, looping structure, in that case these are the separate syntax available that we also see later on. Then after functions, if you want to use function in your program, then function that can be used as a reusable code, or it can be called whenever it is required. Then after classes, exceptions. So classes, if you want to include the object oriented features in the Python, as we have already discussed, Python that supports both, that is procedural as well as object oriented programming. So if you want to include the object oriented feature, in that case you can include class concept here. And exception, if you want to manage runtime errors, in that case you are using these exceptions. So these are all the basic components that you can include while creating the Python program, that we will see each and every one by one as a separate chapter in our subsequent sessions, right. Now before going with the programming, before starting the programming of Python, you must know about the indentation. Now first of all, what is indentation? So basically, if you want to include block in any programming language, so it will start with the curly bracket. Say for example in C programming, suppose you are creating a function, you are defining a function. In that case, what is the syntax? You can write that function with the help of first of all data type, then after the function name, then after in parentheses you are including some of the arguments if it is a parameterized constructor, or if it is not there, then you can leave it blank, right. So this is the parenthesis. Then after function starts, or you can say that the body starts with the curly bracket, you can write some of the statements, and then after it ends with the curly bracket. So in between this curly bracket you can mention some of the statements, so that will be executed when the function is called. Same way, suppose you are using some looping structure, in that case you are also using curly bracket in other programming languages, right. So it will denote the block, that means the body, you can say that under that particular function or under that particular control structure. But here in the Python there is no provision to use that particular curly bracket. Then how you can define that particular block that can be start at somewhere and ends at somewhere? So here you have to use indentation. So indentation, that is nothing but the concept of space. So whenever you can start any statement, you can leave one tab or basically 4 white spaces, then it will be considering as an indentation. So in procedural language you have already seen that you can start your code with begin or end keywords, but here also there is no provision for any of the keywords to start the block or end the block. So whenever you are leaving some spaces or the indentation, in that case Python compiler will understand that code that is available in the block of particular function or particular control structure. So if you are using if statement, if else statement, or any loop or any function, then whenever you are defining that function name, whenever you are defining that particular loop, then that statement ends with the colon. Then after, whatever the statements you want to include in the body of that particular function or a particular loop, in that case all the statements that begins with some space, that space is nothing but the indentation. So compiler will understand these all the statements are under that particular one function or particular loop structure, right. So basically 4 spaces that you are including in the indentation. Now on the screen you can get more idea how the indentation that can be included. One basic program that is listed here, in which one function that we have defined. Forget about the syntax of the function, that we will see in detail when we will start the function section in this Python programming. Right now only focus, suppose if you want to create a function, in that case you are using the keyword def, that is define, then after the function name, then after parentheses that you have put, inside parentheses there is no argument, that means here it is no argument in that particular function. Without argument you have defined that particular function. Now that statement ends with the colon. So that colon itself indicates that now that function, whatever the body that starts, whatever the statements below that, that is inside that into the body. So that all the statements that you have to begin with some space, and that space is nothing but the indentation. So you can observe on the screen def, then grit, grit is the function name, Then after we have mentioned print statement, that is hello Python learners. So here before print there will be some space, so that is nothing but the indentation. Before that the comment section will be there, as we have discussed. It is the basic block of any Python programming. It is not the mandatory, but if you want to add some additional information, you can write here in the form of comment. So if you want to write single line comment, in that case you can use hash sign. It is also possible multi-line comment, that we will see in the detail in later on. If you want to put multi-line comment, then you can use single quote, that is 3 times, or double quotes that you can use in your program for multi-line comment, right. Then after the main program start, here multiple variables that we have assigned, a equal to 10, b equal to 20, c equal to a plus b. So this a equal to 10, b equal to 20, so this 10 and 20 value that you are assigning a and b are nothing but the variables, right. So here, in just like in other programming languages, you are declaring the variable first with some data type, but here it is not the case. As in the previous session we have already discussed, as Python is a dynamically programming language, so whenever you are assigning some of the value, it will automatically consider the data type for that particular variable, right. So here it is not required to define with the data type. Yes, data type will be there. For data manipulation, you must have to understand which are the data types that are supported in the Python. Then next subsequent session we will also discuss in detail all the data types that will be supported in Python with explanation and the example, right. Then after print a, print b plus 50, so all these are considering as the expressions. So normally a equal to 10, that is nothing but the variable that you are defining with some value, but some expression, some formula that you are including, that will be considering as expression. Then after you can see again the indentation example. If I would like to include the if statement, so here in the program you can see if age greater than or equal to 18. Now this statement ends with the colon. Whatever the statement after that, that will be considering as the body of that particular if statement. So how the compiler will understand? So it is only the way you can start the block with some space. So here space is nothing but the indentation. You can write that print statement. Then after the else, so remember one thing, that if statement and else statement that are in the combination. So wherever the if starts, at the same location the else will start. If you are putting space or indentation before the else, then that Python will give you the error message. Yes, in the case of nested if, you can put if within if, and in that case you can put indentation before that if statement, that is the different case. But here if else, that is considering as a single syntax. In that case, whenever you are entering or adding the if statement at the same location, you have to put that else. Then after again else will be end with the colon sign. Then after again you have to put some statement. So you can observe here again that print statement having the indentation before that or space before that. So compiler will understand that statement resides under the else statement, right. So if you are not putting indentation properly, or you are not telling the compiler that the block starts at some position, in that case compiler will give you error message, right. Then after you are calling that particular function. So this way you can add the indentation. Now the next unit we will start these variables and the data types. Now in this unit, after completion of this unit, you can understand how to create a variable. Then after you can understand various data types that can be used for particular variables. Then understanding the use of typecasting. Then write the program to understand how variables are used. These are the basic agenda that you can able to understand after completion of this unit, that is variables and the data types. Now as we have already discussed what is variable, so it is nothing but the entity that can be used to store some value. So whenever you want to use any value in your program, in that case that values are stored in some of the variables. Now values can be of any type, it may be integer, it may be float, it may be character, it may be string, right. So according to the data that you are using, the type will be decided. As we have discussed, Python is a dynamically programming language, so it is not required to define with the data type. You can directly use variable, and the basic syntax is you can use the variable name, and then after assignment operator, that is equal to sign, and then after the value you have to put. That means whatever the value at the right hand side, that will be assigned to the left hand side variable that you have defined. Now variable is nothing but the identifier. As you already aware, the basic programming tokens in any of the programming languages like identifiers, keywords, right? So identifiers, that includes the variable name, function name, all these things are considered under the identifier. So for that you have to follow some of the rules or thumb rules, which kind of name that can be valid or which kind of name that should not be valid for that particular identifiers. So here some rules that will be given. Identifiers can be created using alphabets. Alphabets can be of capital letter A to Z or small letters A to Z. It can include digits 0 to 9, and the only symbol that can be allowed, that is underscore sign. As in any other programming languages, that special symbols that cannot be included in the variable name. Just in some of the languages like Java, that can be allowed. Same way here in Python, only underscore that will be allowed in the name of that particular identifier, or you can say that the variable or the function name. Then after, any other special symbols or white space that are not allowed in your variable name. First letter of the identifier, that must be the alphabet or underscore. Your variable name that cannot start with the digit or any other special symbol. Mind well, this is the thumb rule. Then after, variable names that are case sensitive, and it should be some meaningful. Say for example, you want to store the marks of the student, then avoid the use of the variable name A, B and C. Just mention the name marks particular subject, right? So accordingly you can use the title case or the camel case for that particular variable name. Avoid the white space because it is not allowed. The name cannot start with the digit or any special symbol, only underscore that will be allowed. Here some of the examples are given: valid identifiers and invalid identifiers. You can see in the valid identifiers all that follows the rules, and in invalid identifiers, the first name that starts with the digit, so it is not allowed. Second also start with digit, it is not allowed. Third, that includes white spaces as well as the special symbol, that's why it is not allowed. Fourth one, that starts with the special symbol, that is not allowed. Only underscore sign that is allowed at the beginning of any name. Then after, last one, birth date, again here the space will be there, so it is not allowed, right? Now assign different values to multiple variables. So this can be allowed. You can assign one value at a time or multiple values to multiple variables, right? Say for example, you want to assign some value, say for example 10 to variable A, then you can write the statement A equal to 10. But suppose you want to write or you want to assign multiple values to different variables, then it can be also possible in the Python. In other programming languages that cannot be allowed. Here the syntax is given: variable name 1, 2, multiple variable name that you have to define here, and then after equal to sign, and then you have to define the values. You can observe here, say for example, I am using A equal to 10, and then after you are using A, so one value that will be defined. Now suppose P, Q and R, all these value I would like to assign here 20, 30 and 40. So in the single statement you can assign multiple values, you can observe here. So this way it is also possible in the Python. In other programming languages that is not possible. Now we are concluding our session. In today's session we have discussed how to use indentation to start any block in the Python programming. We have started the unit variables and data type. We have discussed how the variable that can be declared and how to assign multiple values to different variables in a single statement. As well as we have discussed basic components that should be included in the Python program. In next subsequent session, we are going to start various data types and how to use in the Python program. Till then, happy learning. Thank you.